If you're traveling to China, these are the 7 must-know prep tips before you go to China. We're going to go over visa, we're going to go over booking your hotel, the bullet train, the payment system, eSIM or local SIM, the mapping system, which is Amap, and last but not least, we'll go over what translation apps you want to prep ahead of time that would help you navigate around the city. Let's jump right into the video. The first and most important thing is, of course, getting your visa. Oftentimes now you could book your airplane ticket and you don't need your visa, but of course you would need your visa to be able to get on the plane to fly to the country. So the most traditional type of visa is the travel visa, which is also called the L visa, where you could potentially get it from 1 year to 10 years. It really depends on your passport expiration date. Get it in person at embassy, or you could get it through online, or you could have a travel agency help you. These are the most common ways. But of course, specifically in the States, in America, there are 4 locations that you could get it physically in. I'm gonna put the map right here, but depending on which state that you are based in, there's a specific location for you to go to. And oftentimes, if you're not around in that state, it's much easier if you could go to a travel agency or do it online. I personally would recommend an in-person travel agency where you could get all your items done, but the pricing, depending on your location, can range from 200 all the way to 500 or 600 for that. And usually it takes around 12 to 14 days, but it really depends on your location if you're gonna do it with a travel agency. Did you know that China has a visa-free policy coverage? Before, it was 144 hours where you could go to China and have a layover there visa-free. But now they have extended to 240 hours. Let me show you here. So basically all the requirements that you'll need for a visa, the Chinese embassy website, it pretty much tells you what you'll need. I will put these links in my description below as well. But going back, we're gonna talk about the 240-hour visa-free transit policy coverage. If you do plan to go to China and you are only there for like 6 or 7 days, you might be able to go there without even getting your visa. It is open to 55 countries that are eligible for the visa-free policy. Basically on the website, it tells you what you'll need to qualify for this. Mainly is making sure that your visa doesn't expire within the 3 months, and then making sure you have a ticket flying out to a third country when you are leaving. If you do decide to do this visa-free policy, there are specific ports that you would need to fly into and fly out of as well. And there is a limited scope that you could really travel in if you're looking to do this. Most commonly, people like to go to Shanghai, Beijing, or Guangzhou. Those are on the list. So make sure you see which airport and make sure you book your ticket out beforehand. But anyways, if you are looking to travel to China soon, the traditional visa is not the only route, but you're laying over there, look at the visa-free policy to see if that's something you qualify so you could travel there longer. If you're traveling to China, there's one app that could solve your hotel stay problem and your transportation problem, specifically meaning bullet train. That app is called trip.com. Guys, this is a non-sponsored video, but this is everything that really helped me when I traveled in China, and I think that will help you. But if they do sponsor it, 确实能把它夸上天，因为它真的很好用。But anyways, let's get back to the main topic. Starting off with the hotels, what you really want to look for is the location. 3, 4-star hotels are great. 5-star hotels are even better, but 3 would be really comfortable when you're in China. There's also different filters you could put when selecting your hotel as well, which is like a smoke-free room. You want to make sure that if there's laundry, if you're staying there for a long time, if there's a gym at the hotel, is that what you're looking for? If there's meeting rooms, some rooms are even high-tech rooms where it's like an Amazon Alexa in the room, but unfortunately, it only is able to speak Chinese. And also you could select if you would like breakfast or not. Is in it, usually it's not, but you could really filter it out. They do have a mobile app, they do have a website. And feel free to use this, guys, because this is a non-sponsored video. But if trip.com, you guys see this, reach out to me. But anyways, it could really solve 90% of the problems you have before going. And probably the leftover 10% is ordering your DD when you're there. But they do have an airport pickup service if you're looking into that. Going to the next one that all of you guys should experience, it's the high-speed railway. If you're in China, you have to experience it. Imagine all you need to do when you go to China is you just fly in one flight, but in every other province, you could just railroad train, bullet train there, all one way. And that's kind of how I got through all my trips there. So how do you get your bullet train ticket? One, you could get it physically in person, or two, you could get it virtually on a travel app, where there is one on WeChat, but I noticed the one on trip.com is even better, and the prices are very similar to local prices are, so don't worry about, oh, they're gonna double charge you or something. One thing is you could book it 15 days ahead of time, or you could book it 30 minutes before that ride. It's that simple and that convenient through trip.com. But if you do decide to book it 30 minutes before your trip, make sure you check the departure time and what time you need to be at the gate. Another thing you should check is the location of the railway, because if you are in Beijing, guys, there's like Beijing South, Beijing North, Beijing Main Station. So make sure you're at the right station, because that's super important. And oftentimes see which one's closer to your hotel, or it really depends on the time of how long that ride is. There are a few different types of seatings. There's standing seats, where it's like a standing ride. There's second class seats, where you could think it as your basic economy. There's first class seating, where it's kind of like your premium economy. And there's business class, which is literally like business class seats. Imagine the airplane. And it's super simple. All you really need to do is put in your passport information, something that's very common while you travel internationally, where they'll ask you for your passport. But once you enter it onto trip.com, it's like a one go where you have it each time. All you got to do is select like the check mark button, passengers, and that's pretty much it. It's all standard on a week-to-week basis, but of course during holidays it might change. So the times on a week-to-week basis are the same thing. So when you do plan, you can plan it based on that. Guys, I just love the high-speed railroad so much. It's so convenient. Coming to the fourth prepping tip, should you get an eSIM, or should you get a local SIM, or should you get both? The perk of an eSIM is that it already has a locked-in VPN in it, so you don't have to download an additional app like if you were to get a local SIM card. But you wouldn't be able to have access to, let's say you want to DoorDash, you want to experience what Meituan is like in China, you wouldn't be able to do that unless you have a local SIM card. Sometimes it also has restrictions if you could use bikes, as well as what I've experienced if like the passport and stuff isn't working, because 他们需要实名验证, where you need to verify your identity. But if you are able to and you are staying in China longer, I would definitely recommending to get a local SIM, just so that you have that access to, you know, what you want to experience. But of course, it really depends on the airport you land at. Like for example, if you land in Beijing and you land in Xi'an, like they're totally different pricings there. My experience was Beijing was super overpriced, so that's where you might get the comments from. But in Xi'an, it was super affordable. I think I spent like 250 RMB for 80 gigabytes, and it was like I think it was like 30 days plus 10. If you do have the ability, get both, or get the eSIM, and then if you are there, get the local SIM, just in case you don't have data, because everything you do in China, you will pretty much need data, from scanning QR codes to payments and everything. And of course, if you do get a local SIM card and you still want access to your YouTube, your Instagram, Snapchat, stuff like that, Facebook, you would need to get a VPN. And personally, I use many different VPNs, and Let's VPN was exceptional. Not just on the pricing, but really like the service everywhere you're at, because I was on like the top of the mountain and it still worked. And guys, this is not sponsored, so feel free to just use it at your convenience. The fifth prepping, which is one of the most important one as well, is payment. How does payment work? And I think most of you know there's two main ones, which is WeChat Pay and Alipay. And you might be asking, oh, which one should I be using more? Which one should I download? I would recommend getting both of them prepped before you go there. One is WeChat. Sometimes it does require users to have their friend verify them to even make an account. So if you're in the States and you have a friend who uses WeChat, it's best to be able to do that, so that when you're there, you're able to use it. And it might not require like identity verification, but if after you spend a certain amount of money, let's say I think it's like 5,000 USD, then that's where they will require you to put in your passport information, stuff like that. But it is case by case. But Alipay does require you to put your passport and stuff like that. You could do it when you're in China, you could do it ahead of time. I recommend doing it ahead of time, just so that you have everything prepped and covered, so that you're all ready when you're there. And guys, even if you do decide to hike and you want to buy something on top of the mountain, it would 99% be WeChat Pay or Alipay. So that's why it's super important to have this, even if you were at the Great Wall. But of course, I do recommend, you should bring around $100 cash with you, which is like 700 RMB. You could get that exchange at the airport, which is most convenient. And also, foreign transactions do apply even if you are using a travel card. It just means that in your country, they wouldn't charge you a fee. But in this country that you're in, they will still charge a 2 to 5% fee. It really depends. What I've noticed in China is that if it does charge a fee, it's usually if you spent more than $200 or $300 above that, it will charge a transaction fee with that transaction. Tip number 6, the mapping in China. Google Maps doesn't work, but Amap does. And why is it called Amap? I don't know, but it's super convenient. That's what I know. So Amap, it is a multi-language app. There is English on there, so don't worry about, oh, do you know how to understand Chinese? It has accurate subway exit guides. Oh my God, this was such a game changer when I compare it to what I'm using in the States. But it literally, if there's an underground tunnel, it leads you really accurately on where you need to take the exit. And it also has light countdowns when you are, let's say, doing like a walk and you're crossing the street. The light countdown might be across the street, but it's also on the map if you are navigating on it yourself. I would recommend downloading this before you come to China. It works on both the App Store and the Google Play. And the reason why you want to download Amap is especially when you're looking for hotels in China, because names are so similar. What you want to do is you want to enter in the name, but you want to verify it based on the number on the address with it, because that will be a game changer. I have a lot of friends who are like, oh, how do I really navigate? Because all the addresses look the same. Look at the address and look at what's the unit number, what's the street number, and based on that, that's how you will find where you want to go. Tip 7 is how could you really navigate around the city if you don't know Chinese? How to get through a language barrier when traveling in China. Do you really need to learn Chinese before you come, or does the translation app work out just fine? If you're going to bigger cities like Beijing, Shanghai, or the Guangzhou area, or even Chengdu or in Chongqing, there's oftentimes English or people who are more familiar with English there. But when you go to tourist destinations, oftentimes because it's a 5A destination, there's 3 different languages and English definitely being one of them. So it's pretty easy to navigate. If you don't understand the language, I recommend just pulling out your phone and the translation app and asking them, because people are super nice there from what I've experienced when traveling. If you don't have a VPN, Google Translate might not work. If you have a built-in translation on your phone, that would be perfect. But if not, on WeChat, if you type in translation, there will be a WeChat translation that comes out. And you could also add it to your mini app as well, and there you have it. If you're looking to travel to China in 2026, these are the 7 must prep tips that you should know and you should watch before going, so you could make your travels smooth and really being able to enjoy the view, the scenery, the food when you're there. If you think this video is helpful, or if you have other questions about traveling to China, feel free to leave the comments below and follow, subscribe for more of food and China. See you guys in the next video. Bye!